So before we look at some other properties of I, we're just going to solve quadratics that might end up with imaginary solutions. Looking here, these are all incomplete quadratics. We have a whole lesson where we'll kind of go back to the quadratic formula. So looking at each of these quadratics, they are all missing the x term, right? They just have constants or an x squared term. So I can just isolate ax squared, so I get negative 20, and already you might start to recognize that we're going to have a negative number equal to an x squared, which will result in something where I need that imaginary unit. So from here, we get to this point. We are putting the square root on this equation to solve. We're trying to think of all possible answers when squared that will equal negative 4. So I do need that plus or minus, okay? So the square root of negative 4 is 2i because we have that factor of negative 1 in the negative 4. Okay, so as always, we can always write them as two answers. And on your delta math ones, that's the way you're going to want to write them. Okay? Why don't you try the next two, see what you can do, and then you can come back and check on the video. So looking at this one, we're going to subtract 20. And then multiply by 2 over 1, or just 2 is fine as well, same difference. So I get x squared equals negative 36. And then we take the square root of both sides. And we have plus or minus, and this will be 6i. So on our last one, we need to move a 10 over. And divide by 2. And then we take the square root. Now it's super common to write 13i here, plus or minus 13i. Reason being is, we had these answers where we had a 2i and a 6i, but 13 is not a perfect square. So we're still going to have our plus or minus, but then just the I comes out. So I'm going to write that on the side just to show it a little more. I break this down into negative 1 times 13. So that's I, right? But 13 has to stay in the radical because it's not a perfect square. So that's my final answer for that one. Also could be written as two answers if you're doing delta math.